Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. We have a very special guest this morning. He's Congressman Bob Clement, representative of the 5th Congressional District for the state of Tennessee. And let me welcome you to the show this morning, Congressman Clement.
Dr. Haney, it's a real pleasure to be with you today.
Congressman Clement, you've been involved in politics in the state of Tennessee for quite a while, but you also come from a political family. I think many of our viewers will remember your father as being the governor of the state of Tennessee, and in a real sense, you sort of grew up in the politics of Tennessee. So why don't you give us some information, not only about your political career, but give us some information about your background and the various kinds of projects that you've been involved with, and as well as your education and perhaps your political career up to this point.
Well, Dr. Haney, as you stated, I came up in a political family. My father, Frank Clement, got elected governor at the age of 33, and I was only 9 years of age, and so I lived in the governor's residence here in Nashville for 10 years. And it was quite an experience for me, being a young boy and growing up in those surroundings, because my father came up the hard way from a rural county in Tennessee, Dixon County, 40 miles west of Nashville, and he had a big dream, but he didn't have any money or contacts. But he used to tell people when he was 16 years of age, I'm going to be governor of Tennessee one day. And everything he said and did was toward that one goal and one objective. So at age 33, that dream was fulfilled, and Frank Clement was elected governor. And I lived there at the governor's residence for 10 years. I lived a very normal life, really, because Dad didn't want us to be anything other than good boys. And even though we had all kinds of experiences, and I grew up with the highway patrol and prisoners from the state penitentiary, because we had about 40 to 50 prisoners that cut grass and made up the beds and cook the food on a daily basis. For many years, I wasn't so sure which group I liked the best, whether it was the highway patrol or prisoners, because those prisoners knew how to play basketball, and for a boy 9 years of age, that was pretty important. But it did give me a real appreciation for people in all walks of life, no matter what their background or color or race or creed, but people that have had troubles and difficulties in life, but we're all human beings. And so it gave me a real appreciation for people. And so I lived in the governor's residence from age 9 to 15 and from 19 to 23. And as a young boy, I used to watch Dr. Davis out at Tennessee State University, and I know you're affiliated there. And Dr. Davis, back in those days, Tennessee State, on their agricultural farm, used to raise chickens and turkeys and had a real farm operation. So I got the bright idea to do the same thing at the governor's residence. So I had 150 chickens and 50 turkeys and goats and horses and one monkey, but my brother Frank fed it candy and it died. So I had a lot of different experiences as a young boy.
Very good. Now, your education and your careers outside of politics, we also know that you've had the opportunity to become involved in education and as the president of one of the institutions in the state of Tennessee. Why don't you talk about that? Because I think education is very important now.
Well, Dr. Henny, when I grew up, I really felt strongly that I couldn't always depend upon my father and mother to be there to help me. And when my father died at a relatively young age, at 49, and I was in my 20s, and I was still in the U.S. Army. So when he died, my contacts, my power went out the window. And Bob Clement had to make a name for himself and had to do what's needed to get ahead in life. And so I'll never forget that, because I remember people, even in high school, at Hillsborough High School, where I graduated, people say, well, Bob Clement, you don't need an education. You don't have to prepare for the future. You're Daddy's governor. Not realizing my father would die at a very young age, and I was a very young age when he died. And that really taught me something, that no matter who you are, you better take out an insurance policy. And so I did go to college, graduated from University of Tennessee in Knoxville, got my MBA from Memphis State University, I went in the Army for 2 years. I was discharged a first lieutenant. I've been in the real estate and the insurance business. I was elected to the Tennessee Public Service Commission, where I served for 6 years. Then President Jimmy Carter appointed me to the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA Board of Directors, where I served for 2 years. I was in the real estate syndication business. Then I became a college president, as you mentioned, at Cumberland University. And then I resigned to run for the United States Congress here in the 5th Congressional District for Davidson County and Robertson County, where I got elected January of 1988. Mentioning all those jobs and positions I've had in life, it looks like I can't hold a job, Dr. Haney.
No, I think it didn't.